You're listening to Xsgaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander, Skullion, and James Gruesome, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome back to another episode of Xsgaming Podcast. This is going to be some fun because we're on episode 111. And I'm one of your hosts, Xander Skullion. Joining with me is my wonderful co-host, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
What's up, everybody? I mean, it's the most wonderful time of the year, right? I suppose that's what the song says. All those Christmas tunes. One of my favorite, by chance, if I listen to the actual radio, which is rare, but there is a station around here, 94.3, and they just play a lot of weirder, older stuff, but at some point, I think it was around Thanksgiving, they switched over to Christmas music, and I was just like, no. Like, I mean, I don't have, like, a searing hatred for it, but, like, I'm just not really gonna choose to listen to it on my own. I'm coming to grips with Christmas. Last year was not bad the year before, so, like, I just was really hating it. I don't know, I just had this bitter hatred towards Christmas. I'm not really sure what exactly spawned it. Like, I don't quite love it as much as I used to, but I'm kind of apathetic with it, and I mean that works. But if you celebrate and you love it, damn, have fun. I still like the lights, and presents are great. I usually just buy those for myself. So it is that time of year. If you can, lend somebody a helping hand if they deserve it, and just have fun and hang out with friends and family, and that's what all that holiday crap is about.
Oh, yeah, I think, this is the first Christmas since I can remember that I'm actually kind of stoked for Christmas. And it's not because of, buying a bunch of gifts or getting a bunch of gifts, because, I mean, money's been kind of tight this year, but I think it's just the spirit of Christmas. I've been really into it for some reason. As a matter of fact, I'm, like, waiting until, like, a little bit later on, because we're recording this on the 6th of December, and I was like, I'm going to wait until, like, the 15th, like, maybe after my birthday. I want to buy some eggnog and watch Die Hard. Like, that's how I want to spend my Christmas.
Everybody's got their Christmas movie. I've decided this year, actually, I'd ordered a bunch of sales have been going on with a lot of movie companies like Kino and Shout Factory, Severin. Really cool places to buy horror movies, and I ended up getting a couple Vincent Price movies that
nice.
I'd never seen, because he's done so many movies. Like, I got a tattoo of the dude, but I still have not seen every movie. So I ordered a few I hadn't seen, and I decided I'm gonna have a Vincent Pricemas. So,
dude,
Christmas,
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I just plan on hanging out with my wife. Maybe we might make some food. I will probably imbibe in some beverages and other things, and I'm just going to watch a bunch of Vincent Price movies that I'd never seen. I have a few I'd already got. I got a couple more on the way. I got a nice little lineup of at least like 5 or 6. So like I said, that's what I'm choosing to do. And it's tough for me. I am I do work at the post office, so Christmas is pretty extreme on the work side. So that can kind of help beat you down a little bit. I'm already on the list. They asked me if I could work like 6 days a week for the next 2 weeks. And, part of me is like, another part is like, that is a damn good paycheck. And I can have lots of fun once all the suffering is over with. So I just try to deal with it. I might even work on Christmas Eve because honestly, as a holly jolly part of me, I've worked Christmas Eve on Sundays before. And like people are like, pretty damn happy to get their stuff like Sunday delivery with Amazon's become a little bit more normal, but still Christmas Eve sometimes they don't expect you to do that, so it's kind of nice because people seem really happy, and they'll give you like food and cookies and crap like that because lots of times they're making it.
Yeah, I was about to say you're like the real life Santa Claus, working on Christmas Eve, and like you've probably saved a couple of Christmases.
I try. Like I said, you could really tell, man, that Sunday Christmas Eve delivery, a lot of people aren't expecting that. And, I was like, I don't mind going for like a few hours because I don't really do anything. I'm old. I don't have kids. I just don't want to drive anywhere. It's just kind of like a day off. But, especially if you can like make somebody else's, in a sense, making somebody else's Christmas in turn can make yours a lot better, even if you don't really give a shit. It can kind of make you care,
Well, you brought up a good point about Amazon shipping on Sundays. I had no idea they did that until just this past week. A friend of mine, Kyle, and again, Kyle, if you're listening to this, dude, thank you so much. He got me a copy of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and he was like, yeah, I want to send it to you. And then, like, I was, about to go to work last Sunday, and he messages me, and he's like, hey, your game should be in the mailbox. And I'm like, really? Like, kind of humoring him a little bit, I was thinking, because, like, I was like, mail doesn't run on Sundays. I'm like, really? Let me go check. And I checked, and sure enough, it was in there. I was like, holy shit. I had no idea Amazon did that. That's freaking awesome.
It's been like that for a year, since around last Christmas. I don't do it. So if you have anybody has issues with your Amazon Sunday or this and that, don't blame me, because normally I don't work on Sundays. But yeah, the Amazon came in, the post office got the contract with them, and I mean, it we see it. I'm on the Amazon Primes, like I get stuff on Sundays too. I'm like, hey, well, they're out there delivering anyway, I can get that stuff too. But yeah, man, people see it on their phone. I have people coming up to me like, hey, did you deliver this? And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, it says it's delivered. And I'm like, dude, maybe UPS has that one. And sure enough, I asked the guy the next day. I was like, hey, man, did you get that package? He's like, yeah, UPS had. So people will come hunt you down about that Amazon stuff, man. Like,
yeah, I was about
people
to
get
say,
a little psychotic about it. It's cool, but
I was about to say, listeners, please don't message James as your, USPS consultant on things going wrong. He'll start messaging me, hey man, I was listening to your podcast, and I'm wondering about this package I ordered.
I tell you, UPS has that shit. That's probably what happened to it.
But yeah, I mean, we had Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was good from the time that I was awake. I woke up around like 9 o'clock, and my sister was already cooking. I could smell it, but I was like, it's going to take a while. So I went to the grocery store, went to the actual gas station, bought a 40, started playing Yakuza 4, got a little tipsy, and right when I got tipsy, the turkey was ready. I ate like 2 full plates, 3 pieces of pie. I was so full, I felt like I was going to throw up. It was a good Thanksgiving feeling, that's for sure. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and get some rest. I laid down. I went to sleep at like 2 and then woke up at 7. I mean, I was like in pure hibernation mode. I was so asleep that when I woke up, I couldn't remember what day it was. That was pretty much what my Thanksgiving was all about. I was actually kind of pissed off that I slept half my day away.
Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes that's what days are for. Because I remember talking to you that day. And I think like I had slept till like noon. Actually, no, I want to say it was noon or 1 because my mom had texted me and she was going to my sister's. I'm like, I don't really feel like driving anywhere. I'm sorry. She was like, well, I'll drive. I was like, no. I was like, I don't even feel like driving to your house because this like 30 minutes from me to my mom's and like more than 30 from that to my sister's. I was like, no. I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything. I just got up. It's like we cooked a little something here and then just hung out. I don't even remember. We watched something. I don't really remember what it was we watched, but it's a pretty good day. It was just one. And then I actually had the next day off too, which was odd. My day off, normally I take Thursday, and they showed me some proper respect, I guess, and they actually put me down for the day after the holiday, which typically I'll let other people take off because, like I said, maybe people care. Maybe they have families and things like that, which sometimes seem horrible because we watched the Krampus movie last night, and it seemed like a horrible family experience. Like a lot of people are just – they feel really put upon, like, it's like the family's coming. And it's like it really sucks when it's like that for people. Like I actually like all my family. I'm just sorry. Like I'm kind of like a douche sometimes, and I don't want to go do anything, but I do actually like my family. And some people just seem to really hate that. It's just like, man, if you don't want to be around somebody, just don't do it. Don't feel like you have to just because it's a holiday. If you don't like somebody, don't blow your holiday on a bad experience.
Indeed. Now, I was going to ask you, James, because I was going to message you this, but I'm like, I'll ask him this on the podcast. Would you consider the original Yakuza or Yakuza Kiwami, would you consider that a Christmas game?
Oh, dude, Yakuza. I might have mentioned this before on the show, and it came to me a couple years ago when I was I did not like Christmas, and I was going through a pretty bad depression that was it lasted like a year or two, and Yakuza was really an escape for me. It really, that's why I feel like I have like a kind of like a special relationship, even more so with that game, because I feel like it really just kind of helped my mental state. And I actually loved the fact that it was Christmas. And many times, dude, even like Kiwami, especially Yakuza 5 was the one I was playing at the time. And you always almost end up running through a Christmas, and like the town would be kind of decorated. Even there's like even snow in some parts of the city. And to me, it's very much a Christmas game. And I even kind of put off playing Kiwami. I started it and I said, you know what? I was like, I had so many other games I was playing. I said, I might just, save this. If I start getting mad around Christmas, I know I can kind of, escape to Kamurocho and, Kiryu and everything. And it was like, it just kind of helps, ease all the Christmas pressure, So for me, Yakuza has really become one of my, what I consider one of my top, Christmas games.
Okay, cool. Because I consider it a Christmas game. I mean, matter of fact, I was inside the convenience store, and they were playing like little Christmas music, and I was just standing there for a minute. Because like I said, this year I'm a little bit more into Christmas spirit. I was just standing there, and I'm like, oh man, I can't wait till Christmas. But I was like, I gotta ask James this. But we got a little bit of gaming news, a little bit, not a whole lot's been going on. A matter of fact, while we're recording this, the gaming industry's prepping for the video game music awards. That would be
that
awesome.
Would be cool.
That would be awesome. But the video game awards show, and also the PlayStation Experience Expo as well. My friend Amanda's actually going to both of those. She was sending me pictures of her hotel and the place, the pavilion or whatever they're having it. I don't know where they're having it at. Somewhere in California. But so on the Sony side, things have been really quiet. They haven't really been saying too much. The main stuff that we're going to be talking about news-wise, I'm going to start first with Nintendo and then the Microsoft. But with Nintendo, nothing too crazy. Other than the Switch now has Hulu. They did a recent update. So Switch now has one streaming service. They don't have Netflix yet. They don't have YouTube, but they have Hulu. Hey, people can watch Rick and Morty on the go now on their tablet, That's pretty cool.
Wrestling too. Yeah, there's lots of stuff. I noticed that. I was like, Hulu's on here. Like that wasn't on here before. And a lot of people, like you said, they've kind of been pining, for a Netflix. And, I think, I don't know if as many, but, I'd say, a good chunk of people have Hulu, have traded in the cable for that, almost maybe as many that have Netflix. So there's always lots of movies, shows. I think that'll satisfy, a lot of people's want for that. And the fact that shows that, those other services, I'm sure, will be coming, in due time. For me, I know, like for you, not a major concern.
Yeah.
But I could understand. Maybe that's someone's only, system. Maybe they don't have a smart TV or Roku or, and they just want something on there. So, hey, they got a little something for now, and, more is on its way.
Indeed. And also, Super Mario cereal. And the only reason why I'm talking about this is because for some reason it's a really big topic because it's going to have an amiibo. That was the big thing. Apparently the box itself is going to be an amiibo for Mario Odyssey. Like you use the amiibo and you get extra coins or something. But man, I can already tell that this is going to be another one of those collector's things that people are going to be like trying to scalp stupid cereal. I mean, I think it's just dumb.
I mean, that's kind of cool. So that actually is real. I remember, John Riggs had been posting about it. He's a big fan of other cereals and foods from other places. And I noticed he'd posted, and I think he wasn't even sure. And this was, maybe a week ago. This is kind of like a lot of debate on this actually was a thing. Looks like a decent cereal. I imagine the amiibo thing on the box is cool. I know a lot of people kind of have like reproductions if you want, whatever thing you can get from certain amiibos, like on eBay and places you can find just kind of like it's something like a scan, of the card that you can use. And that's just kind of a neat something to have, with it being a little bit more specialized like that, definitely brings it into that, scalping, hard to get, will it cost too much? Like WWE put out the New Day's Booty-O cereal, which, it was just kind of cool that came out. I mean, at the same time, it's like a $12 or $15 box of cereal that I'm not really going to buy,
Yeah.
So it's one of those, like, it looks like it might, as a cereal, the Mario is that I would probably eat. If I saw a box, I would definitely pick one up. Would I pay more than, $5, or whatever comes close to regular cereal price? No, probably not. So hopefully it's another one of those things that is, in supply. Maybe you have a chance of getting. More than likely, as it seems, probably not. So good luck to you if that is what you want to get.
Yeah, the release date is going to be on December 11th. And speaking of John Riggs actually just posted on Instagram. He's already got a box of it. He got a box from Nintendo, and when I saw the picture of him with the Mario cereal, I'm like, out of everybody, that makes the most sense that he would have it early. Because John Riggs, he does a lot of cereal reviews and sweets and stuff like that, and that's one of my favorite aspects about his channel. I like the way he does that kind of stuff. But so we got Mario cereal coming out. And that's pretty much the biggest bombshell with Nintendo right now is fucking cereal. But a bigger bombshell was the news they dropped about 2 days ago, and that is a brand new Mega Man. Now, I'll be honest, when Capcom announced that they were doing their Capcom Infinity Twitch stream to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Mega Man, I had no hype whatsoever. They're like, oh, we're going to have some special announcements for Mega Man. And I'm like, yeah, like Mega Man underwear, the Mega Man cartoon preview or something. And when it came to the game, I was just like, if they do announce a game, it's probably just going to be like a collection for like the Nintendo Switch, like Mega Man Legacy 1 through like 1 and 2, or so we get Mega Man 1 through 10 on the Switch. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I was right about that. That is coming out for the Switch. They're also releasing all the Mega Man X games for the Switch and the PS4 and the Xbox One and Steam. But they announced Mega Man 11, and it looks awesome. Have you had a chance to look at it yet?
No, I haven't really seen anything about it. I think you were the first person I heard it from. You'd text me about it, and I always think that's cool. They've still come out. I never really played the most of 9 or 10. I think one of them I didn't play at all. But the bit I did play, it was tough. It was Mega Man. They seemed like really good games. I heard good things about them. So it's really cool to see that, continuing. I mean, there is a love for, that older style, the older games, always in the retro community and even beyond. Games like Shovel Knight. It's just good to see the fact that they're, still supporting that. And it's like, wow, here we are in 2017, and there's a damn Mega Man 11, and it looks like, Mega Man like 5 and 6 and back on the NES. It's pretty crazy.
I was about to say, it actually didn't take the retro look. It's actually got like a new look to it. You know what? It's got that 2.5 look to it, and it looks kind of like a more redefined Mega Man powered up, if you remember that on the PSP. It's not as chibi looking, but it looks really good. It looks really good. It looks a lot better than like Mighty Number 9, that's for sure. And that's what everyone's been kind of. It's so funny to hear the Mega Man fans, from years ago that were boasting about Mighty Number 9, being like, this is going to be the new Mega Man, are now like, fuck Beck, fuck Keiji Mifune, we're back with Mega Man 11, and we're happy to see this, So I actually talked to Rob Man a little bit, and he was excited. I'm like, dude, I can only imagine your Facebook right now is probably blowing up the wazoo, because everyone knows he's like the Mega Man guy. But it's nice that Capcom actually listened, and we still have some more Capcom stuff. Of course, the Arcade Edition, the Street Fighter V, comes out next month. And what's really cool about that is the Arcade Edition is going to be free for anyone who owns a copy of Street Fighter V. It's like going to be a free update. I mean, they're going to release like a Street Fighter V, Ultimate Edition that you can buy separate. But if you already have Street Fighter V, you can go ahead and upload it. So if you're listening, go ahead and buy a copy of Street Fighter V while it's cheap. I think you can get a copy for less than $10 now at GameStop. It's dirt cheap. So go ahead and get that. I still have my copy from when I got the collector's edition a couple of years back. So yeah, I mean, we got that. We got the new Monster Hunter for Capcom, and hopefully, PlayStation Expo, maybe we'll hear about the Resident Evil 2 remake that's in limbo right now.
Yeah, that one, I still, if I talk to somebody about it, I'm like, nah, man, like, it's still in process. I mean, I believe that. I honestly don't really know what's going on, but I believe that it's still going to come out. I don't really see any reason why, it shouldn't. The guys working on it mentioned, it's like they had the thing with the main series, and I don't know if some of the same guys work on the Revelations, but they're mentioning how they really wanted to keep those all, keep Revelations as a series, which we recently got on Switch with the 1 and 2 set, or you can just get, as far as the eShop, the 1 or 2. They have the numbered series going, have a Revelation series going, and 2 still in the process of coming out, which I think would be really good. I like the Revelations because to me they seem a bit more of a throwback to that older style. Had the series change, with 7, which is still really awesome, and I think blew people away. Some of the people maybe got a little bit jaded with 5 and 6 and just didn't really care anymore. 7 just gave like a new life, and you kind of got that throwback with Revelations, and then of course remake of 1 was just awesome. And so many people have been waiting on this 2 for so long that eventually next year that'll probably I don't know, man. I don't think, like, if it doesn't come out next year, I would probably give up myself. So yeah, I think it'll be a next year thing. That would just be a pretty big item to come out that people have they're still wondering, and we just don't know a whole lot.
Indeed. And the last little bit of news that we're going to talk about is during our little spot that we don't record, Microsoft finally released the Xbox One X, and I have to say I've been hearing a lot of great things about it. I know my friend John, the Retro Bro, he got one. He absolutely loves it. A lot of people that I talk to that have the Xbox One love it. Like, I haven't talked to one person that bought it and they're like, what was I thinking? Why did I get this? You do have to have a 4K television. You have to have that to completely utilize all the features that it has. I know the console seems to be a lot faster. The load times seem to be a lot better. It's not as loud, like fan-wise. And it's a little smaller than the original Xbox, but I think it's probably around roughly the same size as the Xbox One S, maybe just a little thicker.
It's not. I mean, it's heavy, but it's not huge because actually a friend of mine brought his over, and so I got to play one. I could just go by him, much like with John, my buddy Ken. He loved it. Really had nothing but good things to say about it. That's really all I can go off of is someone I know and trust and that has, a PS4 Pro and a Switch and still, really, really likes this. He really complimented Microsoft as, being a little bit more for the consumer and the fan. And, he's telling me how, like, it played damn original Xbox games, which kind of spawned the topic of this episode. But I was like, wow, man, I was like, it's just like it's playing these old discs, like, whether it has to download it or not. I wanted to make sure, it just kind of wouldn't rip them. I'm like, do you have to have the disc or can you just play it? He's like, no. He's like, you still gotta have the disc. Because I was like, you could just like kind of rip some of mine onto there. But that's always awesome, for so many of us to have that ability, going back to that PS3 that everybody loves so much that would play PS1, PS2. We still love, we all love backwards compatibility, and anytime that comes up, and the list just seemed to be growing, of the amount of games as far as original Xbox that, it would play. And I mean, that's definitely to me a big fan service thing, just because, you know, so many people like that. So many people still have damn stacks of, you know, Xbox games sitting around, and maybe their system kind of died like mine did, you know, and you can't play your discs anymore. And now you have this brand new system that does all the new stuff, and you can play some old crap too.
Do you think this is going to make the OG Xbox games raise up in value? Because one of the things I do like about the original Xbox right now is the fact that the games are so dirt cheap. So do you think with this backwards capability that it can process, then it's going to make some of the games harder to find, maybe raise the price on some of them?
I do, especially, you know, the ones that it'll play. I think that's always you know, a cause of concern in a sense. If you love buying cheap Xbox games, just any other new means of playing something is always gonna, you know, affect it in a ways. You know, it might not be long term. It might just be a little bit of a craze, or, you know, if someone's like, hey, I can't play this, why not, you know, buy it? Like, you know, man, I hadn't played it, you know, Grab by the Ghoulies is on that replay, but, you know, you can be like, man, I haven't played this game in so long, and then now I can. And, you know, I think you will have those people, you know, hunting them down, you know, asking their friend, like, hey, man, you still, you know, playing that copy or whatever, and, you know, trying to snag them off you and things like that. So, kind of cool, you know, in a sense. Like, yeah, the fact we will be missing out on cheap ones, but the fact just to see a little at the same time, it's always kind of cool to see a resurgence in popularity of old games, just to have more people out there, you know, talking about them and remembering them, because there was a lot of really cool games, you know, on the original Xbox.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, maybe this is some testing grounds with Microsoft. Maybe, you know, they'll see some sort of database and see that a lot of people are, you know, downloading or playing this one certain title on the OG Xbox. And you're like, you know what? People seem to really like Jade Empire. Why don't we make another Jade Empire? You know, or you know, Grab by the Ghoulies 2 or Brute Force 2. I mean, the list goes on, and that's definitely what we're going to be getting to in just a moment. But right now we're about to take our break, so we just hit our 30-minute mark. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about the OG Xbox, talk about some memories, and I actually have some comments from our Xsgaming Podcast Facebook group page of people talking about their memories. So we're going to talk about that, read their comments, and kind of just, you know, talk about our own memories. So sit back, relax, guys. Listen to some Jet Grind Radio Future, and we'll be right back. And we are back, guys. And yes, this episode is going to be a little bit of some OG Xbox. I thought, with the release of Xbox One X, we would go take it all the way back to the very beginning with this little console that Microsoft came out that a lot of people, to be honest, looking back at some of the old articles, a lot of people were kind of huge skeptics about. This was the first time that Microsoft, while no stranger to gaming on the PC realm, this was their first take on the home console market, and a lot of people were kind of skeptic about it. But it was by far one of the most important consoles in gaming history, and one of the most beefiest consoles that we had that generation. Now I'm actually wanting to talk about a little bit about specs, because the specs seemed really interesting. The first Xbox had actually a hard drive, an internal hard drive, which was huge, about 8 gigabytes. And owners did not need a memory card for storage purposes. Also had a high-powered, custom-made processor. The Xbox came with a joint effort between Microsoft and NVIDIA. NVIDIA canceled production of the processing units in August 2005, making the end of the Xbox. The system was originally sold at $299, but dropped down to $149 in 2004, and the console's initial software is based on the variant of Windows 2000. And I'm going to ask you, James, what was probably one of your first memories with the OG Xbox?
One of my good friends, one of my oldest ones, going back from when I was like 17 or 18, and I remember he was my one friend that had a 64 originally. We used to always play wrestling, at his house. That was the spawn of the love of all those wrestling games for me. And I remember he had a GameCube. He just always seemed to get the Nintendo systems. I don't think he had a PlayStation. But he ended up getting an Xbox. He just got it. Didn't know a whole lot about it. It's just like another system. You see some things in the magazines. I don't even remember what the very first game I played. The first game I really have a memory of playing, though, and I know I was playing it with him, was that Cell Damage game. Oh,
yeah, that was a good game.
Yeah, I know, and it was on multiple systems, too. But at the time, it was just cool. I think maybe we weren't as jaded back then. Some people now might be like, new system, like, just why? We had PlayStation, we had Nintendo, but here was this kind of third party swooping in, and we had a lot of crossover of the same titles, but we had a lot of different ones too. And of course, another big thing at first was the controller, which was just huge. I have small girl hands, or just small hands, and it's just like, man, that controller was just massive. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, I was about to say the controller actually had a lot of controversy at one point. It's like the controller was released. The Duke controller was like the standard controller. It was huge, and by most standards, it was it had a massive input for gamers with like average hands, and it was built for. And they made this one controller called the S that was in Japan that was made for smaller hands. And after a while, it got to the point where the S controller got adopted and everyone used that. And it's funny because the Duke controllers become like kind of like the nostalgia of Xbox. As a matter of fact, I believe they're re-releasing the Duke controller for the Xbox One X. And I know some people that like the Duke controller. I didn't like it.
I have heard that, and actually later on, because of course with the S controller coming out, as with most groups of friends, you sometimes only have so many controllers. We all have those Bobo ones or lesser ones, and at some point, I got stuck with the Duke. I don't remember what we were playing. I know it was a multiplayer. I want to say it was a first person. I have no idea of the game, but I actually got to where on that particular style of the first person, I like the Duke. It was something with where the black and white buttons were situated, because they were different in between the S and that, like very different, like on just, completely the upper half, the lower part of the right side. But I got to where, like I said, with the first person games, I would hold it a certain way, and I actually got to where I liked using the Duke, just for those. And it's been a long time. It actually would be kind of interesting just to play with one again. I think in some cases they are, slightly sought after by some people. It is just that weird, we always think of so many controllers now are so comfortable. There's never any, really issues, unless it's something, like Nintendo that's just a little bit more weird. But after we get used to it, it's like, oh, this is great. But when you think of your standard, PlayStation or Xbox controller, you know what you're getting. It's going to be comfortable. It's going to be good. But this one was just a little, just a little huge. And it makes me feel like not as bad. It makes my hands feel not as small, knowing that there was demand from other people, too, that wanted something that was just, a little bit easier to grip.
It's interesting when we talk about the Duke controller because, I didn't have a Dreamcast at the time when I first played the Duke controller, and it was really uncomfortable. But now playing the Dreamcast controller, I kind of want to go back to the Duke and try it out and see what it's all about. And speaking of Sega, Sega and Xbox has a little bit of a history. One of the things is Microsoft almost bought out Sega to make the Xbox at one point. And some people even say that Microsoft was responsible for kind of destroying Sega in some ways, because Peter Moore, who's now the president of EA, he was the president of Sega of America, and then when Sega of America died out, then he became the president of Microsoft. And Microsoft and Sega both were sharing operating system. The Windows CE, I believe, was a part of the Dreamcast. And like I said earlier, the Xbox was using an early version of Windows 2000. And a lot of titles that we saw that came out for the Xbox very early on, it felt almost like Xbox 2. We had a lot of games like Shenmue 2, Jet Set Radio Future, Metropolis Street Racer, Project Gotham Racing, Panzer Dragoon Orta.
Yeah,
Panzer Dragoon Orta. So, I mean, it is kind of interesting. I did feel like, when the Xbox first came out, I felt like it really was kind of like the Dreamcast, too, in a lot of ways.
Definitely had a lot of those titles that, continued on. And, of course, the Jet Set. And I don't know what that came in a 2-pack with. Something like
Project
something
Gotham.
Moto.
Yeah, it was Project Gotham.
But that became part of one of the ones that came with the system. And, Jet Set Radio is a game a lot of people still would like to see come back today, which goes into, hey, maybe if people, can play that on their new Xbox and they see they're playing it, that could be another, game that would come back. Very cool at that time that took, benefit, as I mentioned earlier, with the Cell Damage being one of the first games I really remember playing. We had that little time period back then where we got a lot more kind of cell-shaded games, whether it was things, like the Cell Damage Jet Set. What was the Capcom one with the little dude? Beautiful Joe.
Oh, yeah.
13. Or, the X111 first-person game at Cell Shade. It was very cool. It was something that I think never really became overused at the time. When you think maybe it could. Some people wonder, are the old retro style of games, is it? But we had a lot, on that system that used that. It was just a very cool time period.
It really was. And I asked the Xsgaming podcast group page. Let me situate my mic a little bit because I was holding on to it. It was trying to unplug on me. But I asked the Facebook group page, I asked them to kind of talk about some of their memories. And I haven't gotten to my memories yet. I want to do that right after I talk about some of the comments we got on the Facebook group page. And if you guys are listening and you're not a part of the Xsgaming podcast Facebook group page, you can join us on facebook.com/group/Xsgaming podcast. But the first one who commented was our good friend Ryan Cadaver, who was on our last episode, our Halloween episode. And he threw up a screenshot and he said, "This is my jam," and it was Brute Force, which was a really good game, very underrated. I really liked Brute Force. To me, it felt like the Gears of War before Gears of War was a thing, Also, James, Not you, James, but a different James.
No.
I know this wasn't you because he says Shenmue 2 and some of the DC games that came to the Xbox instead. And when he said that, I kind of chuckled because of you and your love for Shenmue.
Shenmue sucks. For the fact though, I owned Shenmue 2 on the Xbox and I tried to play it, and I remember even back then when I got it, and I was just like, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me anymore. Then I don't know if that was after I'd played Yakuza. I can't remember if I think I got it a bit later on, but just I know people love it, and like I said, much love to those people. I'm glad you enjoy it. Just not for me. Play Yakuza.
And our friend Matt, Matt, you just made me feel so old. He says, I was 6 years old when Grand Theft Auto Vice City came out, and I was the first to play it on the Xbox. Thought it was cool that you could put your own songs in it. And, that is one thing I will say that I loved about the OG Xbox, is you can make your own custom soundtracks on certain games, including Grand Theft Auto. I remember listening to, Misfits, and listening to Balzac, and listening to, X Japan, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is driving around, running people over, listening to, Mommy, Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight? It was so fitting. It was so fucking fitting. Also, Ross the boss. Ross, how you been doing, man? I haven't heard from you in a while. Ross has gotten, freaking buff. He's been doing DDP yoga.
He's been getting ripped, man.
Yeah, dude. Congratulations to Ross the boss, man. But he says, my girlfriend at the time got me the Halo 2 green Xbox, and I played Halo 2 online way, way, way too much. I could drive the Warthog like Mario Andretti, I believe that's what or Andretti. But
Mario Andretti.
Yeah, that's what it is. I can't read. But, that's something I remember as I was working at Babbage's when Halo 2 came out. I remember we had a LAN party. We had one of those old, probably 100-pound projector TVs, and it was freaking awesome. I loved it. Our good friend Jared, he says so many mech games, so many that we call it the mech box. Mech Assault 1 and 2, Steel Battalion, Gun Gorflin, Phantom Crush, Metal Wolf Chaos, Robotech, so much robot porn, drools. What were we talking about again? And he's right, man. I mean, Steel Battalion, let's take a moment and talk about this. This was a really, really advanced game because a lot of people know about Steel Battalion because of the controller. The controller was in 3 pieces, and it was like controlling your own mech. And the thing about it was, too, that I thought that made Steel Battalion really awesome wasn't just because it was a full mech simulator, but it was because that if you died in the game and you didn't eject in the right time, you would actually lose your save. You would actually die in that game. So I thought that was really, really cool. Eddie, he says, you must talk about Panzer Dragoon Orta. It was amazing. And yes, Panzer Dragoon Orta, one of the best on-rail flying games. Think of Star Fox, but with dragons. I had to admit, that was the first Panzer that I played. I never played Panzer Dragoon, the ones on Saturn. I never got to play those. Also, Ryan, our good friend Ryan, dude, me and Ryan have so much things alike. And he says, I was working at Babbage's when the Xbox was released. Shortly after the release, I had to deal with a whole bunch of customers that were pissed about buying Bloodwake. I never got to play Bloodwake, but I thought it was funny that he was also working at Babbage's.
Oh, yeah. No, it's creepy. Creepy in a cool way. We like creepy. I'm the same way with Ryan Stuteville, because I'll mention movies. I'm like, have you seen this? And even this just weird crap that usually nobody has seen. He's like, oh, yeah, I love that. And I was like, man, this is weird.
Yeah, dude, Ryan's an awesome guy. I feel like Ryan knew us in some past life or something, because he is really a chisel from the same block of you and I. Some of the stuff I talked to him about, and I'm like, oh my gosh, man, that's so crazy. Sean, Michigan, says Outrun 2006, Halo 2, The Punisher, Fable, and the emulator still gives the Raspberry Pi a run for its money with emulation. And man, that's another thing. The OG Xbox is like an emulator box, man. Don't you have yours? You have yours as an emulator, right?
Oh man, it was one of my first experiences with that. My wife now had bought me my Xbox sometime. It was when I know it dropped in price. I don't think it was $150. I think it was $200 at that time. But I remember she got it for my birthday, and I don't know how long I had it. But these guys at the flea market had a little shop, $100. Man, you know, they'd sit there, hook it up. Man, it had NES, Super NES, Atari, Genesis, Neo Geo, and it was like almost like every Neo Geo game too, and a good chunk of weird, you know, as far as NES, like translated Famicom games, stuff I still find new stuff on there. It would play Sega CD games. It put a new DVD player in it, which I was a little disappointed wouldn't play, other region DVDs. But as I found out only like a year or so ago, I bought a Japanese Xbox wrestling game, of course, and I found out I could change the region on it, you know, due to them doing their modding, and I was able to play that. Of course, unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, like it no longer wants to read discs, so it lives on to me as an emulator system. And I still have it sitting out, and it's usually still plugged in because it's, you know, AV cords, and I have one of those little multi things, so it stays there. And even though, you know, I have a Pi, lots of times my Xbox is still, you know, my go-to. And it was one of the first ones, like I said, you know, if you didn't have a computer, this is one of the first systems due to it. You know, it's hard drive space. Sometimes you had to switch to some memory card functions after you got it modded with all these games put on it. But in turn, it definitely was worth it. At the time, you figure 200, extra 100 for all that stuff, which, you know, I hadn't played in years. I had a couple systems at the time, older ones, but, you know, sometimes playing those in turn kind of got me back, you know, into collecting, like I assume it did with a lot of people. But man, you know, you couldn't really do that on PlayStation or any other system. It was like Xbox really had that lock. It was so much more really like a computer, because that's where people were doing emulators for so long, and yet you had this home system, which if you knew what you were doing, you know, you could just do it yourself, which of course I didn't. I still don't, and that's why I just pay people to do it for me, and you know, that helps the economy out, I think.
Oh yeah. And Jeffrey Wittenhagen says coin ops, which I guess he's talking about some of the arcade games, because the Xbox did have a lot of arcade games as well. And Games of War, Josh says, loved Assyric Rise of Plethora. I believe I'm saying that right. If I'm not saying that right, I'm really sorry. But, you know, Games of War, you know, he's also a big Sega guy. And I did notice that when the OG Xbox came out, because it had so many similarities with the Dreamcast, that a lot of Sega fans loved the Xbox, me included. Now, I will say, my memories of the Xbox, I kind of went through other consoles before I got it. I originally got a PlayStation 2, and I played the hell out of it, and it died. I ended up getting a GameCube, and I enjoyed that. But then, you know, playing the GameCube, there was games that I wanted to play that Nintendo didn't come out with, because Nintendo even back then they had a lot of third-party support, but they didn't have the third-party support that I was looking for, aka Elder Scrolls Morrowind, which was a game that my friend Mikey was telling me about, and he was telling me how cool it was. And I remember it was my birthday that I was working at Babbage's. I bought the OG Xbox used, because by then it was a lot cheaper. Because I think I bought the OG Xbox probably like a year and a half before the 360 came out. But I got the OG Xbox, and I got Morrowind and the Evil Dead game. The Evil Dead, like Resurrection or something like that. It was the later one, and it was actually really good, because it had like Bruce Campbell as the voice actor. It had Sam Raimi come back as like some midget zombie guy that bothered Ash, and it was like taking place after Evil Dead 2, like Army of Darkness never happened. And man, that game was so good. That was such a good movie-based game. I got that. I remember later on, I remember playing games like Scarface. I actually still wish I had the poster. I used to have a poster from the pre-order of Scarface, and it was the picture of Tony Montana, and he was sitting on the chair with his gun out. That scene where everyone's kind of turning on him. But if you looked really closely at the picture, it was the whole script of Scarface. Every single word that was in the movie made that picture. It was a good size, and I'm like, man, that is so cool. Don't have it anymore.
Lots of F-bombs. Remember?
Oh yeah,
Guinness World Record. Wait, is that the one? It's got the Guinness World Record for most F-bombs in a movie. I think it was at one time. It might have been replaced since then. But such a fun game as far as GTA, kind of knockoffs. I'd always just ride around listening to Africa Bambaataa on there. I had it on PlayStation, but just a really, really fun game.
And of course, I mean, like the Xbox had some great games, like the Dead or Alive series. And that was like their answer to Tekken at the time. Team Ninja did so much stuff with Xbox. I mean, the Ninja Gaiden games, Ninja Gaiden and Ninja Gaiden Black, which Black was like pretty much like the enhanced version. It would be like if Ninja Gaiden Black came out the day, it would have been like a DLC thing that they probably would have came out with. But I've played a lot of that, and I mean the Xbox really was a special console. Fable, that was a game that at that time was so revolutionary that you could play a game where you could actually turn bad or good. We didn't have games like that back then, and Xbox really pushed that envelope with that.
Now, thinking of special editions, too, how you mentioned with like Ninja Gaiden Black, like Onimusha was another one.
Oh, yeah.
And while sometimes you might get games a little bit later, if you did get them later on the Xbox, they always had some extra features added to it. I like some of the strings, of course. Me, wrestling games, you had the SmackDown series on a PlayStation, and your Day of Reckonings on the GameCube, and Xbox had its own series too, which is just really cool to play them all. And they were all different in their own way. And while Raw was not very good, honestly, Raw was kind of bad, it did implement things. It picked it up better with 2, but it was one of the first games I remember that you could set up a chair and like jump off of it. You could run off the ring steps by using, I think like it was either the white or black button. It was something very simple, but to me, being a wrestling fan and seeing guys like Sabu that would run and jump off a chair, it was very cool to be able to do that. Like I said, 2 definitely picked it up. WrestleMania 21 was the last one, another Xbox exclusive, and pretty much to me, if you liked any of the wrestling games on any of the systems, they were all really fun. They all had their certain aspects, and while all being different, talking about good or bad path you could pick in Fable. I mean, Knights of the Old Republic, huge game. Still popular to this day. As far as at that time, that extended Star Wars universe. As a time, we were getting some more Star Wars games, but this is one that wasn't based on the original trilogy or any of the, newer, the Phantom Menace or such. It's kind of its own extended world, and was, a huge game. And Jade Empire, you mentioned, way earlier in the show, that was another one, done by the same team, but it had that, Asian martial arts aspect to it, which actually, and it even had 2 versions on Xbox. I don't know if one was exactly like a pre-order, but I think it had like a bonus, costume or some slightly, remastered version. It was one on, its own system that had 2 versions.
Yeah, I was about to say, the Xbox was the first console I remember that we started getting DLC. And I'm kind of wondering if that was kind of the starting point for home console gaming and DLC, because I remember, Halo 2 had DLC. And I'm wondering if it was some of the Microsoft's, PC gaming background that kind of bled onto the home console market. It's become something, like it or not, something that's kind of a norm. DLC is a thing that we have. Microtransactions is a thing that we have now. And also online gaming. Now, I will say Microsoft wasn't the first that have online gaming. I mean, we've had online gaming all the way back to, the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis in some aspects with the phone lines. It was very primitive. It wasn't as good. Sega Saturn and Dreamcast did it as well. Dreamcast was really popular with games like Phantasy Star 2 online. But my thing is like, I felt like when Xbox Live came out, it was just such a revolutionary thing for video games. I mean, now we could play games online with the Xbox. I mean, the PS2 had online, but the PS2 and the GameCube had online, but it just wasn't as good. GameCube, really not so great. I mean, you had your broadband adapter, and I think the only game you could really play online at the time was like Mario Kart Double Dash, which was really hard to do anyway. But the Xbox just took that because it had built-in network adapter. The PS2, you had to get an add-on until the Slim came out. And I remember talking to my friends, and they would be like, talking about playing games online, like fighting games and first-person shooters. And that's what really made me be like, oh, man, I really have to get an Xbox. And my first experience with online gaming was with the Xbox, playing Halo 2. And getting killed, getting teabagged. I didn't even know what the guy was. I'm like, what's he doing? He's like, boom, headshot. Yeah, it was a teabag. But but that, it's funny. We think about it now, and it's such a normal thing. But back then, man, that was all new, and it was all Xbox that did that.
Yeah, even too, you mentioned kind of like with like the LAN parties. I can remember, I have my Xbox, friend's Xbox, 2 TVs. We're in different rooms and we're playing Raise as Hell on 2 different TVs. It had a lot of that, whether it was things, people had been doing on computers for so long, to where it really seemed to bring it more into the mainstream, and I think you kind of really got to think, Microsoft and the Xbox really bringing that, because still, us console gamers and PC gamers are still, for the most part, a lot of times we're just different people. We're just in our different, video game groups. Some of us do consoles, some of us do PC. That's just how it is, and that's perfectly okay. People can do their own things and still exist, but the fact to kind of bring that other life that other people have been experiencing for so long to kind of like, just your layman console gamer, and it's like, wow, and it's only gotten easier and easier over time, to where it is just such a normal facet with games, to where pretty much you have to have, where most people do have online capability, but some still don't, where even just certain games, it's like you kind of have to have that now. And as far as downloading things on eShops, it's just become a normal part of so many of our lives that you think back at that time just wasn't definitely not part of our lives, and then it just all kind of collided. Technology is insane.
I mean, one thing I can say about Microsoft and the Xbox brand is it brought console gaming to a whole new level, in the sense of online gaming. Like I said earlier, love it or not, DLC, and also, you're all in one. Going full circle to the Xbox One and Xbox 360. With Netflix and Skype and all these different apps now that you can get on a home console. That back then, you couldn't even you couldn't even think about it. It was like, at one time it was just a big deal to be able to play DVDs, or it was a big time to listen to CDs. Well, now, when the 360 came out, you get Netflix. My first experience with Netflix was on the 360. So, I mean, it is really, really something awesome. And for you guys that are listening, be sure to leave a comment on some Xbox memories. We'd love to read them and talk to you through YouTube or maybe the Facebook group page if you join our community. But before we close the show, let's get into games we've been playing recently. I'm going to throw it to you, James. What have you been playing?
I do quickly, too, just on a last note for the Xbox thing. I just want to give a couple shout-outs to a couple games, maybe bad or good, depending on your view. But Kabuki Warriors, Bruce Lee, Death Row, Tao Feng, Atogi, Riddick, and we've been going to Ninja Turtles. That was one of the times, too, where we actually got the arcade Ninja Turtles game as a bonus. There was a string of like 2 or 3 mediocre turtle games, but it was more the bonuses on there that really opened it up. So, just a great system. I probably would have been playing some Xbox, but like I said for the third time, it's just not playing discs anymore. So time to snag another one. Still, I picked up a LA Noire on the Switch. Was one I played before on the PS3. Really, really liked it, so I didn't mind buying it again, even though it's $10 more. I hear a lot of people complaining, $10. It's just to me, it's on a cart. It's a little bit of a process of money. Discs are cheaper. I enjoy it. I think it looks good. I haven't got to play it the most, but like I said, I have a soft spot for that game. Really cool. I picked up Serial Cleaner on the Switch eShop.
I saw that. I saw that on your friends list. I'm like, what is this?
I have not played it yet, and even though it has some stealth, it seems one of those games has a nice little funky 70s soundtrack. I like the graphic style, and you kind of have to go into murder scenes and clean up the blood and move bodies around, and just it's kind of interesting, even though you got to sneak around. Sometimes I can appreciate stealth in a game. I did pick up the Resident Evil Revelations set on Switch, though this is about the third time I've bought Revelations 1. I bought it on the 3DS, I bought it on the Wii U, and I've bought it again now. I still yet to actually beat it, so maybe this time I will go through. Part 2 is a download. They give you a code, which is very confusing. You have to ignore the first part. I think there might be a comma in there because there's just way too many numbers and letters to fit into the download code. That was just bad product design, I think, the numbers there. And Tower of Babel is another game that was on sale. I've been curious about it, and it's kind of a runner game. And honestly, after playing the Night Terror game that we liked a whole lot, that was $3. I really like Night Terror a lot better. Night Terror Babel was $5 on sale. Reminds me a little bit of Pandemonium, if anybody remembers that one on the PS1. Because you're kind of just running up a tower kind of in a circle. But I don't know. It was not that fun to me. And other than that, I've kind of really been obsessing over a YouTube channel called Dinosaur Dracula. The guy had a website for many years and used to write for a site called X Entertainment. And I mean, if you're into old discontinued food, cheap Halloween and Christmas crap, it's just the most awesome channel. He has a certain aspect to himself. He just seems really kind of apathetic about everything he does. He recently was trying some Christmas Pepsi from Japan. He did some Halloween Pepsi that was also, I think, only from Japan. But I love his stuff. Also has a podcast I found called the Purple Stuff Podcast, which is, if anybody remembers the old Sunny D commercials where the kids are digging through the fridge and they're like, it's like water, purple stuff, Sunny D. It is named after that. And him and another guy from another site or YouTube channel called The Sexy Armpit just talk about old toys, cartoons, discontinued, food like pizzerias and Micro Magic and Giggles cookies. And it's just, I'm listening to all these shows. They're doing their favorite Christmas songs now. They tend to only kind of pick up around this time of year. So there's only about 40 something podcasts over the past 3 years. But I'm going to be very sad when I run out, because it's kind of taking over my life at the moment. But it really makes me happy, hearing other people talk about all this old crap that even I forget about at times till I hear. Like Micro Magic, they made microwave burgers and fries. I never tried the burgers, but the fries, honestly, were good. They came in their own crisper. The fries were in their individual little slots in this pack that you put in the microwave, and it kind of had this foil to where it made actually pretty decent microwave fries. And just having flashbacks to things like that. My Pet Monster, just everything. Macy's Days Parade. I've posted up a couple times some clips from He-Man at the Macy's Parade in '86 and '87, and I got those from him. So I would just say, if any of this sounds interesting to you, check out Dinosaur Dracula, whether it's just his website or his YouTube channel. I'm sure you'll find some entertainment in it, because I definitely am. It's like the greatest thing in my life in a while. That sounds kind of sad, but this is how it is. I'm having a good time though.
Nice. Now, with me, I started playing Yakuza 4 on Thanksgiving, and I it's not that I don't like it, because I do like it. It's just this Yakuza is probably out of because I've beaten 3 of them this year. I beat Yakuza 0, then I beat 3, then I beat Kiwami, and maybe it's because I played 3, and I was really wondering what's going to happen to Kiryu next, because Yakuza 4 starts off with a new guy, that loan shark guy, and I like his character, but it's such a slow burn. I was like, oh my god, I want to see what's happening to Kiryu. I don't care about this guy. I have no connection with him yet.
You gotta wait a little bit. They do kind of start off with him, and it spreads out back and forth between the 4. I think also too, not sure, you could be suffering from a little bit. It could happen, I've spread it out over 10 years, and I have to take my breaks. You might be suffering from a little bit of Yakuza burnout, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it could be time just to take a little break, and you'll know when the time is right, and you can just jump back into it. You've played the other ones. So the thing is you're experiencing the familiarity of the city, which is going to help if you take a break. You jump back into it. You're not too far in, but you still have that, and it's like you don't want to overdo it, because a lot of people that are a little bit newer to the series, really got bombarded, and if some have gone back to some of the older ones, could just be a bit too much.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's because I played so many of them kind of back to back, to be honest.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting into this one, but the best thing about Yakuza is you can put it down and you can pick it up later, and you know exactly what you're doing, because I know exactly what's going on. I stopped right after chapter 2. I stopped and I started playing Portal Knights on the Switch with Amanda, and it's it's a crafting RPG, very like Minecraft, Dragon Quest Builders like. I did a review of it. Yeah, really, really fun game. It's definitely not worth the $30 price tag, but I didn't buy it, so maybe I'm a little biased enjoying it more because I didn't spend the money on it. But I was playing some of that. Then I started playing Mummy Demastered, and that's a lot of fun. I did a review on it recently. It's on my YouTube channel. Not a bad game. It's got some frame rate issues that I was very lax with my review with, but now that I've played it more and I've seen some of the footage that John showed me, some of the frame rate, especially towards the end of the game, is really bad. It's really bad. So hopefully, they can fix that with a patch. I still recommend it. I would say get it while it was on sale. I got it when it was on sale. I got it for $15 instead of $20. Actually, I got it for $13, and I thought it was a pretty decent price for a digital game. But the other game I've been playing a whole lot is Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which by the time this recording's out, I've already put out my thoughts on it so far, and hopefully I'm further than I was when I made that video, because I'm only on chapter 2 right now. I'm only on chapter 2. The game is pretty long, but one of the things I do like about it, so I'll tell you the things I like about it and things I don't like about it, okay? The things I like about it is it's not a slow burning story. From the moment you start playing this game, the story is so good that you're automatically connected to the characters, so you actually give a shit, which says a lot about a JRPG. Because a lot of JRPGs, it's kind of like the waiting game to have emotions, to have feelings. You're trying to get to know this person, the world, and stuff. Where this one, it does a really good job pacing with that. Also, I love the music. I love the style. That part's really good. The part that I'm having problems with right now is the battle system. Battle system's really good, but there's just so much. There's so much stuff to take in that it's so confusing. This is the first JRPG I ever played that I actually had to look up videos on YouTube of people explaining the battle system. I've never had that happen, but it really is a little convoluted with what you have to do, and I'm getting the hang of it. I mean, even if I don't understand the battle system 100%, it's not bad. The battle system's still fun. It's just a matter of like learning combos and combinations with your blades, because you have your character, which is a driver, Rex, the main character, but he also has like blades, which are like these other people that his weapons turn into a person, and they fight with you. So you have your weapons like a normal sword, but you also have the blade, who's like a person helping you out, and there's like ways that you can fuse and do combos and stuff like that, and there's certain ones that do better with certain enemies. So that's where it gets kind of confusing. But
I can understand. Like, I experienced that on Pandora's Tower. It was one of those Xseed games on the Wii, which is very cool if you haven't played it. If you can get it on some of the emulators on your Wii U, check it out. But you might see what I'm talking about when it's not really an RPG, but still its combat system was, you have all these chains and things you have to like connect to a monster first, and then like, dude, I would just get really confused. Like, you'd think after playing games for 30-something years, a lot of us would be able to figure things like this out. But no, sometimes it really does take a bit to get the hang of it. It can still be, it can be a good rewarding system when you get the hang of it. But sometimes just getting that initial hang is just damn hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, overall, I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely like the last game I'm buying for the rest of the year. And I think the only other game I'm going to be playing is Longest 5 Minutes. Actually, that comes out in February, so I'll probably be playing something in January by then. I think probably at Dragon Ball Z Fighters, probably something like that. But Longest 5 Minutes. I did contact the developers of that game, and hopefully I get a review code. So I'll be playing that for review purposes, and plus I really want to try that game out. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it with games. I've been playing a lot, but the games I have been playing has just been very, very long and continuous. But I do have to say, anyone who's listening, if you're looking for a really good JRPG, don't let my talk of the battle system discourage you. Definitely check out Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because it is a really good game. I'm not into JRPGs as much as I used to be, and for me to say like, oh man, the story grabbed me from the moment I play it, says a whole lot. Because I mean, even Final Fantasy 15 took me a little while before I was like, okay, it's starting to get good, and I still haven't finished that. So it says a lot. But yeah, guys, just to let you know, if you're listening to this on YouTube, because you can check us out on youtube.com/Xander Skullion. That's my YouTube channel where I cover reviews and Let's Plays and stories, discussions, what have you, and of course the podcast. If you're listening to this on YouTube, and we're recording this on the 6th of December, you're probably listening to us a little bit later on. It's because of my schedule. I'm having a strict schedule on YouTube of every Sunday, and every Wednesday is going to be my upload now, and that includes the podcast. So if you want to listen to the podcast beforehand, then I urge you guys to check us out on Podomatic.com or subscribe to us on iTunes. Now, with Podomatic.com, you can download a Podomatic app, and that will allow you to, download the podcast so you can listen to them on there. But, of course, some people pay for YouTube Red, and that's one of the main reasons why I have the podcast on YouTube, because that's some of people's preferred method. Just keep in mind, if you listen to us on YouTube, you're probably going to get the episode a little later than, say, someone who's listening to us on Podomatic or on iTunes. And if you're kind enough to listen to us on iTunes or Podomatic, give us a follow, give us a review, because it really helps the show. It helps our ratings. It helps, the algorithms, and people be like, oh, this podcast, more people need to check it out. So definitely do that. All the reviews that we get, thank you guys so much. And, this concludes another episode of Xsgaming Podcast. Now, I'm looking at our schedule. Hopefully things doesn't change, but it looks like we'll be doing another episode before Christmas. So hopefully we'll have a nice Christmas episode for you guys.
Definitely should be cool. I plan on being there for it. So.
Indeed. Well, anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening. And as always, happy gaming.
Play Yakuza, check out Dinosaur Dracula, and have a broken or awoken evening, everyone.
Ah.
Yes!